has shifted my life, and I believe it can shift yours, whether it's about feeling better or helping your kids to be better at taking tests at school, or helping somebody who's running a marathon to have their body be more successful. And it's so simple, and I always find it makes me feel good to do that. So anything that takes less than a minute to do, it makes you feel good, I hope you'll take home with you and you'll use it. Because I believe it will help. So, over the years, I have met tons of people all over the country and actually all over the world because of my books. It's really cool when you're an author, you're kind of alone most of the time, but especially with energy healing. People would contact me by email or by telephone or come to conferences where I was speaking. And they'd come up and they'd share stories with me. And one of my favorite stories was again about intent and belief. My friend, whose name I'm blanking on now, but a man who was teaching at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Texas, was working there as in their integrative medicine department as both a Reiki master teacher and as a Tai Chi instructor. And one of the things that he always taught the people in his Tai Chi classes, and that we both teach all of our Reiki students before we even teach them Reiki, just to get a sense of what energy feels like, is to make little energy balls. And you just kind of bring your hands apart and together, and we'll do that in a minute too. But you feel whatever's between them, and just like you're kind of squishing snow together to compress a snowball, you slowly and gradually bring that energy together until you have a big old energy ball. So Mike Powers was his name, and he was doing that one day in one of his Tai Chi classes at MD Anderson. And all of a sudden, a little 70-year-old lady in the back of the room pipes up. And she says, "Okay, Mike, now that I have it, what am I supposed to do with it?" Well, Mike says, "Damn, I never thought of that before. I had to pull something out of my back pocket pretty quickly because I was supposed to be the expert." So he says, "Well," I turned to her and I said, "You know, why don't you take that energy ball and put it on your face and neck where they're doing radiation therapy for your cancer?" And she says, "Okay, how many times should I do that a day?" And again, Mike's pulling stuff out of his pocket. He says, "You know, I think you should do it about 6 times a day, and I think it will help with your symptoms." So the lady took him at his word, and she went home and started doing energy balls and putting them on her face and neck 6 times a day. And lo and behold, she had so few radiation effects. And normally people who get radiation for head and neck cancer have at the very least a bad sunburn and often enough burning in the cells lining their mouth and their throat that it's very difficult to swallow and very difficult to eat. Well, this lady is doing energy balls, and her side effects went away to the point where the doctors were starting to wonder if there was something wrong with their machines. And they actually recalibrated the machine to see, and sure enough, she was getting the appropriate amount of radiation, and nobody could understand what happened to her side effects. So this went on for several more weeks, and then they sat the little lady down before her last treatment, and the radiation oncologist said, "Well, ma'am, we're going to have to do a massive treatment as your final treatment. It's going to be twice as much energy as you've received before, and unfortunately, you're going to get a really bad burn, and your throat's going to be sore, and you'll probably have ulcers in your mouth, but this is what we need to do to cure your cancer." Well, this lady wasn't having any of that side effect stuff anymore. So she started doing the healing energy balls 14 times a day instead of 6 times a day. And lo and behold, all she did was get what looked like a very light sunburn on her face and no problem swallowing, and she did well. And then once the treatments were done, she went home from Texas. And about a year later, Mike was teaching another Tai Chi class, and at the end of the class, this lady walked into the room, threw her arms around him, and said, "Thank you for changing my life." She was well and just back for a well check. So obviously Mike and I got excited that this perhaps wasn't just a little fun exercise we were doing, but there was a lot of value to it. So as spirit would have it, a week later I was called in Ruidoso, New Mexico to do some healing work on a man who was being treated with radiation therapy for head and neck cancer. Now, when I went to their home rather, to visit, John, who was about 6 feet tall, was just scrawny. He must have weighed about 110 pounds. And he was so weak that when he went to get out of his armchair so that he could move to the table where I was going to do some healing work, I thought he was not even going to be able to make it across the room. He was just weak and stumbling, and it was pretty awful. But I put him on the table, I did a healing for about an hour, and interestingly, all of the cats in the house got on the table so that I would work on them too. My wife was really surprised afterwards. She said, no, Snowball wouldn't have come because she hates strangers. I said, oh yeah, she did. Because she had a white cat and a black cat. So I worked on John, and then before I went home that day, I did another thing that those of you who are second degree or more Reiki practitioners could do. I basically did a Reiki attunement to the ceiling over the chair where this man sits all the time. And then I also taught him and his wife how to make energy balls. And I told him about Mike's patient and encouraged him to do that. So about 2 weeks later, I get called back to do another healing for this gentleman. And the first time I saw him, he could just barely eat. But the second time I went into the house, I had to wait because he was eating. And he ate 2 big bowls of soup before he would even talk to me. And he ate them very easily, and they had vegetables and stuff in them. So he ate very easily and comfortably. And while he was doing that, I sat on the floor, and again, Snowball, as well as the brave cats, came, and I gave them some Reiki. And then I worked on him again, and we talked about this. And then a phone call came, and John was on the phone. And then he started arguing with his wife, because John, who was a plumber, had agreed to go do a plumbing job the next day. And she says, you've got cancer, you can't be sticking your hands in people's toilets. And he said, you know, I feel fine. I've been driving myself the hour drive each way from my therapy for the last few days, and I'm not going to let this cancer slow me down anymore. I'm going back to work. And so we did. And he did well for quite a while after that. I don't know what the ultimate outcome was, but I know that the quality of his life improved dramatically from something as simple as making little energy balls and putting the healing energy where his cancer was and where the treatment was, and his side effects decreased dramatically. So that's something that I wanted to take a minute to do with you too. This is a fun exercise, and it's interesting when we teach little kids who haven't been taught yet that things are not possible. They don't just feel the energy. They see it, and they'll get little Johnny going, oh wow, yours is purple. I like that better than my green one. Let's trade. And they're actually seeing these things and passing them back and forth, because kids, before we teach them that things aren't possible, believe in magic. So I'd like to teach you how to do energy balls so that you can use that. But if you just close your eyes, and you might want to uncross your legs and put both feet on the ground, and just gently rub your palms together. And then I'd like you to take one hand and feel the back of the other hand and the space between the fingers, and just get a sense of how different they are. And this is easier if your eyes are closed. And then once you've taken a few seconds to just get a sense of the feeling of your palms and the back of your hands, with your eyes closed, I'd like you to slowly move your arms apart and then back together, and direct your awareness to whatever there is between your hands. You may feel pressure, you may feel warmth, or you may be somebody who perceives energy not by touch, but by vision or sound or smell. So you may sense that there's something green or blue without even having your eyes open. Or you may hear some sound, perhaps bells or birds, or whatever other sound comes to you. And just slowly move your hands apart and imagine that you're pushing together whatever it is that you're sensing between your palms. And slowly and gradually bring them close together, and imagine that you're compressing whatever this stuff is that's between your hands. And just take a couple of minutes to form whatever this is, whether it's heat or density or color or sound, into a tight little ball that you can hold in your hands. And when you have that ball, I'd like you to put it to some part of your body that needs healing. And if there's no place that you feel needs healing at this moment, then just put it in your heart. And when you're ready, feel free to open your eyes again. So this is an exercise that's also going to be fun to do with your children and your grandchildren.